think. Here we go. Okay, I guess we're broadcasting, so I'll get started. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Lunch and Learn that I put together on Snippets. This came out of, I had some fun with Snippets last weekend, and I was like, well, I'll just share it. And so I just slapped this together in the last hour. I really like development, and I really like coding, and I'm always looking for ways that I can make things faster when I'm coding. I always want to like shave off the paper cuts and always like sharpen that saw. But it's not about time saving. There's a lot of people who argue if you can save 20 milliseconds here and 30 milliseconds there, you'll add up to like years over the course of your life. I don't really.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Bummer. That is a bummer. Okay. There we go. I should start over again. There we go. We can watch there are the slides. So it's not about saving time, or at least that's not the major reason. I don't buy that argument. It's more about operating in the plane of thought. There's a lot of good, I think there's a lot of good analogies between playing music and writing code, and there are a lot of really good slow songs out there. It's about not thinking about the notes as you play them, but just expressing them as they come along. And that's kind of what it is. If you master a transition from one chord to the other, you should be able to not think about that transition. In the same way, if there's some programming construct that you know down pat, you should just be able to say, insert it here and just use it and not think about it. And so that's where snippets come in. This isn't one of the only time savers, but I find it to be one of the most powerful time savers. It's something that I only discovered like 5 years ago. And so it was missing through most of my career, even though it wasn't missing, because every single editor has this feature. When I discovered it, I was using TextMate, and I remember there was this guy that I was working with who was like constantly going on and on about snippets, and I was like, oh, snippets not for me. I meta program, brah. I don't need like things that generate boilerplate for me. And like boilerplate is like you put it down there and it's once. But I think that's not the case. I think, a lot of the stuff that we do right is boilerplate. So this feature does exist for every single editor out there. These are going to be Emacs specific, but like I said, these are not even that different from like the TextMate snippets that I used to use. So you can use snippets. What it does is with a hotkey press, it drops a bunch of code into your file, so that you don't have to write it. There's ones for function statements, for each's, and pretty much any bit of boilerplate or thing that you do, there's usually a snippet for it, and if there isn't, you should write it. And to me, last weekend I was like writing an import statement for the 50 bajillionth time, and I was like, this is something that should take like 3 key presses instead of one. And so or instead of like the 30 that you see here. Like there's the keyword, the fact that I'm importing, there's the symbol that I'm importing, and the path of the module ID, and everything else is like noise that it doesn't need to enter my mind. And it's just a distraction. So we are going to write an import snippet today. So the way that you can do this in Emacs is if you're in the mode of the thing that you're doing, you create a snippet from the menu. So here this is just a application route from a very, very old Ember application. You can see this Yaz snippet up in the menu, and that stands for yet another snippet library. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And so you go down to new snippet. Okay, now that's going to, what's crazy meta about this actually is in fact itself a snippet. But the snippets have two key pieces of information they need. The name, which is just a identifier that the runtime will use to identify the snippet. So we'll call this like import, like that. And then the key, which is the characters that you will type to invoke the snippet. So I'm going to call this like INP. And then after that, the comment is the content of the snippet, what the template that will be evaluated. And so you can literally type anything here. And then when this new snippet mode actually has a couple of handy things to evaluate the snippet. So if I
make this a little bit bigger, Charles.
Oh yeah, let me make this bigger. Let's see. Is that better? I can make it bigger still. So when I invoke the snippet, like if I say, there's a function here to invoke the snippet. This like Yaz tryout snippet over here. So you can try it out when you're in there to just kind of, as you're iterating on it, to debug it. And so that's what we're going to be using. So this is what this snippet expands to. Now, of course, this is not valid JavaScript. So let's make it, what we'll do is we'll have it be, we'll say we're going to do import, and then, yeah, we'll just say import for now. And then when we try it out, you can see it expands to import. And then we would say import foo from var, like that. Oh, that's okay. Not valid JavaScript. So that wasn't really that great because we typed 3 characters to save 2. But every import statement has a particular structure to it. The part that's unique and the part that's just the same every single time. And to do that, you can use fields for the snippet. And these are places where, as you're expanding the field, the expansion will stop. You can enter in text, and then you hit tab, and it will continue going. So let's give that a shot. Let's say we want to say import $1. I should say the fields are numbered. Import $1 from, and the quote like $2. And then we can put a semicolon there. And now when we try this snippet, you can see it'll start expanding, and we can say import foo from .. /utils foo, and then I hit tab again. You can hit shift tab and go back to the previous field. So if I want to change this to bar, I can go back here. And so you can use tab and shift tab to move between the fields. And then when you're done, the snippet will exit. And so now that's actually pretty nice. We've saved ourselves a lot of keystrokes. The fields in there were blank, so you can see when I started the snippet expansion, there's nothing there, and I had to fill it in by hand. You can provide yourself with little hints, or especially if you're publishing a snippet that someone else is using, you can give them hints of what should go in that particular field. And so you can do that by using this alternate syntax, kind of a more verbose syntax, where inside the field you put what you want to be in there as the kind of the default or the hint, so to speak. So if I do that in this snippet right here, I can say, let's import, we'll call this our symbol, from this right here, which is our module ID. And so that kind of gives an indication of what those fields, the part that they play in the snippet expansion. So if I try that out, then you can see the default there, it expands there, but the text of the field is completely highlighted. So if I say foo from foo, I don't have to like delete it or anything like that. It's just the default. But if I just tab over it, it's going to keep it there, and then that's in there. My slides are a little bit. So sometimes though, you can see that there are fields that are related to each other. It's not a coincidence that we're importing the symbol foo from the module ID called foo. They're semantically equivalent usually, and so there's a very strong convention around there. And so we can actually leverage that. And you can actually place references to a field anywhere that you want inside the snippet. So for example, here, if I want to say, if I want to take this field, and I want to make this just another reference, $1, so I'm just referencing that field twice, then as I type whatever I type there is replicated in that actual snippet. But you might notice we actually lost something there, because if we have a we bound that module ID to the symbol, but now we can't. There's no variation there. So when we try that out, if I say foo, then what if I have to go back to say, like, if I want to put this in utils foo or something like that? So that's suboptimal. But what we can do is we can actually add more fields. And the fields don't have to go in any order. You can go to a field and then jump backwards and so on and so forth. And so you could even write a snippet that goes from right to left. And so the way that we can do that is just add another field right here. We'll say that's the second field, right in front of this mirror, which is actually this field right there. And then when we try that, we can say, we go to foo, and then we can say like that. But if we don't have, we want to skip that field, we can just tab right over it. So if it is like that, then we can just hit the tab twice, and we skip right over it. I'm going to check and make sure that Rob is able to log in. Rob, good question. I actually don't have the screen up. Do you think someone could look in Slack, and if Rob asks any questions, just give me a heads up? There isn't an FS shared snippet package, although there probably should be. So that's pretty awesome. However, the duplication that we removed came at a cost. It came at a cost of configurability, because often the duplication is not pretty straightforward. So sometimes you've got symbols that are camel cased and the module ID, which is itself like dash cased, and that's pretty like clearly one is derived from the other, but it's not the same. And the answer is that you've got the ability to make transforms. And again, most snippet libraries support this. In this snippet library, you can execute arbitrary list code inside your transform. And what you do is, where we had that the body of the field, you put $1 and then list code, and then that's just what gets substituted for the value of the field, and the text is bound to this Yaz text variable here. And so we'll demonstrate that. So let's in this mirror right here, let's first just take the mirror, and then we'll just insert the text. And so you can see when we try that out, that's exactly the same. But we could use some other thing where we could use like a format function and say, you know, that, and then that's so it's just an arbitrary transform. But in this case, what we really want to do is we want to make it camel or dash case instead of uppercase. So let's, instead of formatting that way, let's use s dash words, which is takes something and makes it camel case. And now, if we say like file upload state, it will you know, do that transformation for you. Or if we wanted to call it like create, like create class, something like that. So now we've got a pretty nice snippet there. So what do we do with it? Well, we can take it and you just put it in your home directory under snippets and the mode that you want that snippet to be enabled in, and it will just magically be there. So let's take this snippet and we'll call it import.snippet. And then that will load it when you start up. Sorry, this is, oh wait, it does not create, wait, hold on. So let's see, let me save this. Oh, oops, I put it in the wrong directory. This is in JS2 mode. Okay, well, it's fine. And now, technically, JS2 mode inherits from JS mode, so it's a problem. And then I can load those snippets. And now I should yeah, I should when I am inside my application.js, I should be able to say, like, you know, if I get rid of this line, I can say import ember from ember, and it's done. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
I have one question. Where do you get the different things for like dashes and to transform something? Like, where do you find
that? Is a great question. So this function that I used was s dash words, which is there's a little, you have to kind of spelunk for it. So I knew of it because there's this guy who wrote the JS2 refactor mode, and like basically he wrote this manipulation library that every single library uses. So there's you kind of have to develop knowledge of the ecosystem. So there's this, it's called literally S. The library is called S for string, and it's got every single string function you could possibly want in there. And so you do have to have knowledge with the libraries. It's kind of like learning about Lodash or learning about you know, Ruby modules or whatever.
Okay.
So you kind of have, or you can write your own.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Super useful.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
Really simple.
Yeah, and really simple.
Yeah.
So I would like the, I feel like we should have more shared snippets, or we should have like
What Rob said, Frontside shared snippet package.
yeah. So, well, cool. And the tacos are actually on the way, so that's a good thing.
All right.
Alrighty. Thanks, everybody.